Good afternoon, everyone. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast here. We do have some storms ongoing, and we expect those to strengthen a little bit over time. And we'll talk about the potential for maybe a secondary line here this afternoon and evening for folks across Kentucky. And we'll look a little bit toward the snow threat on, well, snow chance really on Monday. So we'll talk about all those things here, of course, as you're coming into the broadcast. If you wouldn't mind, throw a like on it, hit the share button at the bottom portion of your screen there. Share this video on your news feeds. That way your friends and family can view it as well. We would appreciate that, and it helps us keep more folks informed and updated. So thank you very much for all of your help with that. Make sure you say hello as you come in. I'm going to give it about a minute or two before we start diving into everything. As we always do, allow folks to get in here and get settled in, depending upon your internet connection. The notifications go out slower or faster, depending upon how things are going for you. So I always like to give it a few minutes before we dive into things. Gary, hello out of Barry, Kentucky. Macy, good afternoon, almost a good evening to you. Macy out of Nancy, Kentucky. Berea is represented by Nicole. How bad do you think London's going to be? We're going to get into all that. Let's get the video started here. Audrey, good afternoon to you, my friend. Yeah, we're giving about 45 more seconds to a minute until we get started, allowing everyone to get in here and get settled in and sharing the broadcast and liking the broadcast, all that good stuff. You guys know how that stuff goes. Charlotte, good afternoon from Frankfurt. Tyler says, how have you and the fan been? We've been pretty good here. Samuel's still teething a whole lot. Newborn with Malin, so we're going through some of the trenches, but everything's been going great. We're blessed. That's all we can count on. Janie, thank you for tuning in on Monticello. Big Clifty with Rhiannon. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Cosby out of Richmond, Jonda from Ashland, Manchester, Kentucky, represented by Dorothy. Thank you guys again. We're giving it about 30 more seconds. If you're just hopping onto the broadcast, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have a level 2 out of 5 risk still posted for portions of central and southeastern Kentucky today for a storm and severe threat. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Look at some of the model and AI weather data with that. And we'll take a little bit of a peek into Monday's snow chance because there's still a lot of questions on that. So, and yes, by the way, that's not hyperbole or a lie. That is absolutely a snow chance on Monday. So we might have to break up the snow scale a lot earlier than we usually do. Shana says, love the new setup. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Veronica says, Bowling Green here, Pendleton County with Brittany, Albany with Jessica, Holland, Kentucky with Candace. Douglas says he's in school right now and on a break for the rest of the day and want to know if there's going to be a severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Katrina, good afternoon to you. All right. Now that we got everything rolling here, again, thank you to everyone that shared and liked the broadcast. It's commenting here with us. Thank you guys again for helping us out with all those boosts there. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up our main screen here. Let's take a look at what we have going on. What was just issued over here? Freeze watch. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, that just came up literally as I was giving you guys the intro, and I was like, what is that? Freeze watch. All right. So as for us here in Kentucky, we still have a level 2 out of 5 risk posted from the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center in this yellow zone here. I still think it's too far west and needs to be a little bit more east. They've been pretty stubborn about the central area. But if we look at the radar, matter of fact, we can put the outlook on top of the radar here from WeatherWise, by the way. Over here in the outlook, you can see, I still think this risk is too far west. It needs to be more east. I've been on that since day one here looking at this, and for some reason they've still wanted to put it out here toward Bowling Green and Russellville, and it's just not there. All right, where there is a severe threat today, in my opinion, is over here toward the corner of the state. Let me turn the outlooks back on here. Really toward London, Somerset, Corbin, Williamsburg, Monticello, Middlesboro, Albany, and then down into Tennessee. As for the rest of the state, guys, I just don't see a whole lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. Now I could lie to you so I can keep you into the broadcast here and keep you tuned in. I will tell you we're going to look at a snow threat, so I think you should stay tuned in. But if you're anywhere else in Kentucky besides that bottom right corner of the state, again, talking about basically this area here, I really don't see a whole lot for you. I really don't. Now, we do have a special weather statement up here for Moorhead, West Liberty. That's probably going to be for 40-mile-per-hour winds. Let's go ahead and click on that. That's exactly what it's for, is for 40-mile-per-hour winds up there. But again, I'm just not seeing a whole lot. The better spin, the better ingredients, everything like that is down in Tennessee. And even there, it's not overly impressive. Now, I will tell you this. Before we go into that, actually, I want to show you, here are the other outlooks from the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center here. There is a 2% tornado risk, a 5% in brown here into Tennessee. I know a lot of you are going to look at that and be like, that's weird. I thought it was weird too. I think you could have squeezed it a little bit into Monticello, Tompkinsville, those areas down there in the very southern portion of the state, but you're splitting hairs. Um, Again, there's just overly not a whole lot, not a whole lot there. There is a lot of spin, but not a whole lot of storm juice. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Here's the wind threat today. Pretty much matches the slight risk, if you will, Campbellsville, Columbia, Monticello, Tompkinsville, Byrdstown, Franklin. This is a 15% chance of severe level winds, which is 58 mile per hour or greater. 15%, so that's like 1 in every 15 storms there, or however that works. You got, I'm not good at math, okay? That's why I do the weather here. All right. Hail chart kind of looks like the hail threat kind of went down a little bit. And I think that's because these storms are a little bit more surface based than originally thought, which is good and bad. Good because it takes down the hail threat, bad because it theoretically would increase the tornado threat. But don't freak out because there's just not a whole lot of gas for these storms to go. Matter of fact, look at the satellite here. We're starting to see a few peaks of sunshine now into some corners of the state. But overall, look at Kentucky compared to like Tennessee, for example. See how they have more breaks here? These little grays that you're seeing is the plain portion of the map. So here's like the plain portion of the map, really. And you'll see all this white here. Those are all the clouds that we're talking about. And what that's doing is helping to keep our environment a bit more tamed. However, if you look into Eastern Kentucky, ironically enough, let me go to full screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you look into Eastern Kentucky, ironically enough, they're actually in the 70s, which is a bit interesting because usually the western portion of the state is much more warm. They're getting there. But look at the gap here in Central Kentucky, a 59-degree marker up here in Warren, or not Warren County, Owen County. Come on, computer. And then 60s everywhere else. And then you got 70s out here. And that, again, is kind of where the better storm, I guess, mixing, overlapping of ingredients is into Eastern and Southeastern Kentucky, like we've been saying for the last couple of days here. If you look everywhere else, it's kind of the low 60s. Here are your dew points, by the way. Those are air temperatures. Here are the dew points over the last hour. Now, ironically enough, out there in Eastern Kentucky, where the storms haven't really gotten to yet, the storms are actually is what making the moisture come up into Kentucky a little bit more. Usually, it would be taking it down. It's actually rising that warm front up north a little bit more. If you can actually see where the storms have been in western, central, and northeastern Kentucky, it's a lot more humid. Dew points in the low 60s, maybe upper 50s. If you look out eastern Kentucky, upper 40s, low 50s. So you're seeing the point I'm getting to here. I'll bring it all to culmination here in a second. Here are the peak wind gusts so far today. It's been a little bit more calm than I thought it would be. We do have a couple of 40 mile per hour gusts out here in eastern Kentucky. These brighter pinks are about 45, 44. I think I said 35 to 50 mile per hour would be the highest end of them. We've gotten there in some places without thunderstorms occurring, but it hasn't been overly impressive. So probably closer to 25 to 45 mile per hour would have been the more appropriate range. But I'm not splitting hairs over 5 miles an hour. I'm just not doing that. But anyway, that's kind of how the temperatures and the mesonet's kind of setting up right now. Okay, so I want to drive home this point here. If I go back here and actually click on this, and let me go back to our main screen here so our sponsors get some love. Thank you to our sponsors, by the way. I want to show you this. I'm gonna show you what's on the map here. I'm gonna explain it to you because I think it's important to understand here. All right. So this map right here is showing us surface-based fuel, aka CAPE or buoyancy or whatever you want to. There's 15 million names you can call it. Okay. Basically, think about it like this: it's gas for the storms to go. Really, in this setup, we have so much wind energy. We have a very nice jet stream at both a few thousand feet up and several thousand feet up. So we're not going to need a whole lot of CAPE or fuel for these storms to go. The problem is, or the good thing, if you want to look at it that way, there's no storm fuel out there. If you look out here where the storm line is, remember the storm line, actually, I can actually turn it on a little bit for you there. You can barely see it, but the storm line's actually all the way out here in the eastern Kentucky. And you'll see that it's covered by a bunch of blue. This blue is representing negative energy, basically allowing the storms to be capped, if you ever heard of that, or limited, not really allowing them to achieve any real severe level at the moment. Now, if you look back out into western Kentucky, that's where the storm fuel is. So if we get a second line or a second group of storms to form out there in northwest Kentucky or north central Kentucky, and then traveling southeast, because this better CAPE will move east eventually. If we get a secondary line to form at some point in the next hour or two, then that line, like I've been saying for the last couple of days, that secondary line would be the more interesting line to me because it actually has some better storm fuel to work with. Now, again, driving home this point, oppositely, the better wind shear and the better helicity, let me go ahead and click on that for you real quickly. But basically, the better wind energy is out there in eastern Kentucky right now. So here's the better wind energy is eastern Kentucky. The better storm fuel is Western Kentucky. That means that the storm fuel and the storm energy and the storm ocean overall is what we call displaced. And that's why we're not seeing these storms being able to take a full advantage of the environment that they're in. So I wanted to drive that home. All right, let's go ahead and look at the model data real quickly, and then I'm going to look at the AI data, and then we're going to talk about the snow chance for Monday. So we still got a jam-packed thing to go through here. So I think an hour old at this point, so it's relatively fresh. And you'll see if I advance it to about 2 p.m. Eastern time, it's doing okay. Now, the actual storm line itself is a little bit further progressed than what it's shown. Here's the actual storm line as of right now. Here is the model data. So the storm line is actually a bit faster, if you will, than what the model data is trying to indicate. The model data is also trying to indicate a secondary line trying to initiate and trying to form. The problem is when we go to the radar data, there's nothing here. There's no secondary line. There's a little bit of a one trying to start all the way up there in Bedford, Indiana, but it's really up in the air right now on if that secondary line is going to form. But that's why we've kind of been, if you read our post today and you're thinking, man, they're kind of sounding like they're 50-50. It really is 50-50. This first line, I don't think is going to be anything too terrible for Kentucky. It's the second line that I think could have some more potential for some more damaging winds, maybe small hail, and yes, even an isolated tornado possible. It's just a big if on if it's going to form. So again, kind of what we're looking at right now with that. Now, this first line is starting to get a little bit more what I call character to it. We're starting to look a little bit more organized. So places like Somerset, London, Corbin, Monticello, Island City, Broadhead, kind of keep an eye out for some stronger winds over there. I still don't think it's going to be anything super crazily impressive, but keep an eye out for it. Okay. And let's go ahead and go back to the model data here. So this is valid for 4 p.m. and a lot of people have football games tonight. This is valid for 4 p.m. Still trying to show that secondary line forming with the first line pushing east into eastern Kentucky. And you can see how it's getting a little bit more color and depth to it over there towards Somerset. When I go back here, see how it's much more weak, much more faint. When I go up toward where we were just at, see how it's got more character to it. That's what I'm talking about there. So advancing this forward, this is valid for 5 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see it's trying to connect those lines together there, creating almost an upside down C, if you will, or a kind of a swiggle line. And then some supercells may be forming into Tennessee. Those will not make it into Kentucky, so don't worry about those. The line would absorb those first before anything. And then it's trying to show a couple of supercells potentially on the backside. Again, I just don't have very much faith in those actually forming. But if they do, they could produce a severe threat. Absolutely. But here's the overall progression of this. I know most football games start around 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time at night. Most folks by that point are going to be clear. Louisville, E-Town, Bowling Green, Paducah, Evansville going to be clear. If you're out Eastern Kentucky along I-75 to points east, most of your football games are going to be interrupted or delayed or even postponed because of the lightning that's going to be involved with these, as well as the torrential downpours with some of these. And then most of Eastern Kentucky is probably clear by 10, 11 p.m. Eastern time. So that's kind of the time frames for the storms and the activity tonight. What I want to show you now is something called updraft helicity. Basically, this tells us where storms are trying to rotate. Now, remember, rotation does not always equal tornadic activity. It can simply equal a more enhanced thunderstorm. It can equal damaging winds, hail, anything, okay? But it does show us where storms are trying to be a little bit stronger in their path. So I'm going to advance this forward here, and you'll see we have some gray markers here throughout central Kentucky, maybe a couple up there toward northern Kentucky. That's nothing to be impressed with. It's down here in the bottom corner of the state where it's trying to, again, enhance some of those storms there towards Somerset, London, Monticello, down there in that southern quarter of the state. So again, some more evidence there that is the area to keep an eye on for anything severe, not just tornadic activity, not just wind, not just hail, any of those three, okay? So that's the model data here. Here is the AI data. It is currently showing that there is a tornado risk down there into Clarksville, Tennessee, just south and just west of Nashville. But as I advance this forward, you'll see it doesn't really have, this is the peak tornado risk for Kentucky, and this is about a 0.5%. So again, if there's really hardly any tornado risk, in my opinion, and the AI data is trying to back that up as well, advancing this forward. Even in Tennessee, where they have the slightly higher risk, it's not really anything overly impressive there either. Now, when we click on the wind risk here, again, keep in mind, this is anything greater than or equal to 58 mile per hour. And you'll see it does brighten up a little bit once again toward Daniel Boone National Forest down there in that southeastern corner of the state. It does get to about 30% there or so. where it may have a shot at some severe winds. But again, that's not overly impressive. Here is the hail risk according to the AI data. Let me zoom this in a little bit for you here, so you can have some road markers there. Bluegrass Acres, thank you for the $10 donation. I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate that so much. Says outstanding job as always that you and your team do to help protect Kentucky. Thank you. Here's the hail risk for this afternoon and evening. It does brighten up, probably the most significant out of all of them, at 30% for Monticello to Glasgow and Somerset and so on and so forth, around, let's say, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. Ironically enough, the National Weather Service reduced the hail risk today for these areas. So you're, again, splitting hairs. All right. So that's the model data. That's the radar data. Now let's look at, I'm going to get to some of your questions here in a second, but let's look ahead a little bit to the snow chance for Monday, because a lot of people have still been asking about this, and it's really, it's kind of cool. We're going to have some lake effect snow potentially into Kentucky, and sometimes that lake effect snow can put out 3 to 4 inches of snowfall. Now keep in mind, 90% plus of that's going to melt as soon as that touches the ground. So you're probably only looking at minor accumulations in some places. But again, it's really cool to note that as of November, what's going to be November 9th on Monday, November 10th, sorry, you're going to have a good shot at some snowfall. So this is for Friday. By the way, here is Saturday. Saturday's mostly clear. It looks beautiful if you're going to a football game in Kentucky. It looks beautiful on Saturday. Gorgeous day. Maybe a little bit of a chilly wind, but nothing too insanely crazy there. Sorry to clear my throat there. Advancing forward to Sunday, here we go with some potential rain to snow showers starting Sunday, November 9th. Now, I got crucified for saying that there was a snow chance on November 9th all the way back on Halloween. Okay. Now, I never go out on a limb like that unless I have something to credibly believe in. And I credibly believed in the lake effect snow chance for November 9th, November 10th. I got crucified for it on social media. But here we go. Here is some of the close range model data now picking up on some of these snow bands, and some of them are a little bit moderate. See these deeper blues here? There are some nice snow bands mixed in with this. So here we go again on November 10th, Monday morning, maybe some moderate snowfall in the northern portions of Kentucky, and then going out toward the eastern portions of Kentucky. By the way, here is the snow accumulation map from the short range model, and it's trying to show a winter storm level snowfall in the northeastern portion of the state. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to happen. Okay, folks, most of this is going to melt, if not all of it going to melt. Okay, and this is not going to be 100% set in stone. You're going to see a lot of shifting to the east, a lot of shifting to the west, back and forth, wiggling until it actually happens. Okay, so, but again, I just want to point out that there is a credible snow chance for Monday, Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. Okay, again, nothing incredible, but if you're a snow lover, you might love to see that there are going to be some snow flurries flying around this, Sunday going into Monday. Okay, that's it. Nothing crazy there, but a really, again, just a kind of a cool thing to look at there. All right, I see a lot of people still asking about time frames, so I kind of want to go back through this one more time here, and then we'll go into questions. All right, so advance this forward. This is valid. Let's go ahead and get this forward here to about 2 to 3 p.m. You see, there is the thunderstorm line there approaching eastern Kentucky. And again, the model data is still trying to show some of these backside supercell potential. But again, the better wind shears on the front side, the better storm fuels on the backside. So again, either way you go here, some portion of energy is going to be displaced. All right. Advancing this forward, it's trying to show quite the strong line into western Kentucky around 5 p.m. or so. Again, I'm looking out there now. I'm not seeing a whole lot. It's not impossible. We'll keep you updated on it. It's trying to show a quite a strong line there at that point. But advancing this forward, this is about for 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. You'll see some storms ongoing out there in eastern Kentucky mainly. This stuff back out here in western Kentucky is a bit hit and miss. We'll see. It's kind of 50-50 at this point. 7 to 8 p.m. So you can see by about 8 to 9 p.m., 70% of the state is going to be clear. So most of your football games tonight, most of your activities, your events tonight are going to be mainly clear for a lot of you folks. It's eastern Kentucky around the I-75 corridor, basically out here where I'm zooming in now. This is the area that might see a little bit of activity lingering into the evening time, late night hours, okay? Right now, there are no severe warnings. There has not been any severe warnings. I don't expect this line to really produce very much severe warnings. It's that secondary line, if it forms and then pushes through Kentucky again, that I think could produce a couple of warnings, mainly going to be for damaging winds and some small hail, all right? that's kind of where we're at right now. So there's not really a whole lot of questions to answer. Let me get to a few questions now. I'm probably not going to get into the whole backyard thing because I feel like our forecast has been explained pretty well here. I will pull up this for you though. Let me go to the full scene here. There we go. Now I'll get to a few questions at this point. Oh, one second. I got to give you a message from our sponsors real quickly. It takes 180 seconds. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back to answer some of your questions here in just a moment. Hey, Kentucky and Indiana farmers, storms are coming, but Right Implements got you covered. From John Deere tractors that plow through the rainstorms to steel blowers that clear the mess, they've got the gear to keep you working when the weather won't. Swing by one of their 15 locations or hit rightimp.com. That's rightimp.com. Right Implement, built for the forecast, ready for the field. Are you traveling through Brandenburg or live nearby? Give your pet the royal treatment at Creature Comfort Inn. Family owned and operated since 1997 with clean kennels, daily playtime, and love like home. Their pickup and drop off hours can fit nearly any schedule. And for your first day, if you mention W&K, you get to save 10% off. Creature Comfort Inn, where tails never stop wagging. Call 270-422-1020 or visit creaturecomfortin.com. We all know Kentucky winds are howling, storms are rolling in. Don't let Mother Nature tear down your dreams. At FBI Buildings, they've created tough post-frame pole barns, equestrian arenas, and custom storage since 1989 to withstand it all. From Hosville to your backyard, their designs keep you safe and operational, rain or shine. Ready to build strong? Call 270-927-8441 or visit FBIbuildings.com for a free quote. FBI Buildings, engineered for Kentucky tough. Hardin County, when the hell's pounding and winds are raging, your roof doesn't have to take the hit. Hyper Roofing in Elizabethtown is your storm damage pros. They offer fast repairs, full replacements, and new installs with top tier materials. They back it all with industry leading warranties on Owens Corning and GAF systems, plus transparent pricing and free inspections. Don't wait for leaks. Call 270-370-1340 or visit hyperroofing.com today. Hyper Roofing, overbuilt for Kentucky weather. Once Upon a Child values your time and your budget, which is why they're bringing you the best deals on top name brands for kids' clothes, shoes, toys, and baby gear. Whether you're looking to upgrade your kiddo's closet or expand the playroom, Once Upon a Child's got you covered with a huge selection of like new kids stuff. And the best part, it's all priced up to 70% less than retail prices. Save big on kids' clothes, shoes, toys, and gear. Get more for less at Once Upon a Child today in E-Town or on Outer Loop in Louisville. Attention thrift lovers, sweater weather is upon us. Is your wardrobe ready for fall and winter? Don't stress. Plato's Closet Elizabethtown has all the styles you want from the brands you love. Want more good news? Their affordable prices mean you can get more looks for less. So what are you waiting for? Green and I love this place. Go save money on all the hottest fall and winter looks at Plato's Closet Elizabethtown. Where's my camera? Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. I'm back. Okay, so I got us on the full screen here. Kind of show you the graphic that we made earlier today. That I think it still stands pretty well. I think, ironically enough, the first forecast we made might have been even better than the second forecast we made. But the time frame is 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Friday Eastern time there, west to east. So that's west on the front time of, or the front end of the time frame there, east on the back side of the time frame there. Storms entered northern Kentucky earlier today. There may be multiple lines, clusters of thunderstorms, 2% tornado risk in orange, 1% in the yellow. Main risk remains as damaging winds and medium hail for both of those zones. Winds will gust to 30 to 45 mile per hour before and during the storms. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. I'll get to a few of your questions at this point, but I don't think hope there's not a whole lot of questions. I hope we did a good job explaining. Of course, I don't mind answering your questions, but I hope we did a good job explaining to you. Okay, Emily's on Facebook says it's very cloudy and has been all day. Could that make storms lose fuel? I know rotation doesn't mean tornadoes, but hopefully the risk of rotation goes away. That's a good question there, Emily from North Corbin. Today we already forecasted a low amount of fuel. So there's not suddenly less fuel than we forecasted. When we looked at it yesterday and made the forecast yesterday and the forecast this morning, we already noted that there was a minimal amount of fuel in there. So again, I don't think the clouds are really changing the forecast or anything like that. And the clouds aren't going to make it suddenly rotate any less or more. But right now it's kind of just watching and seeing. I will say the clouds are kind of helping to keep things tamed as we expected. Yes, more of a wind-driven event everywhere. Again, the tornado risk is remarkably low. Remarkably low. It's not zero, but it is remarkably low. Have I missed Wintercast 1.0 or have you not gotten to that quite yet? I am still working on it. I'm still working on it. We might just do like one Wintercast video this year. I might not do a 1.0, 2.0. I might just do a Wintercast video toward like Thanksgiving because I'm still working on it and I want it to be an absolutely great video. And I've been trying to get to it, and then either family stuff happens, or like it's been happening the last couple of weeks, or like this week I went to get to it and then saw that there might have been a strong to severe storm threat this weekend. So I just haven't had the chance to get to it yet, but I promise you, yes, Lexi, I am working on it. I was looking for Campbellsville tonight. Again, in that, I'm actually going to go ahead and go back over here and pull up the Outlook in here. I'm actually going to like circle these areas real quickly. Get this zoomed in perfectly for you guys. Can you guys see that okay? By the way, let me know how the stream and everything's looking and sounding. We made some changes. I want to make sure it still looks and sounds pretty good for you guys. So this right now, this red area is really the only area where I think there's a severe risk today, really, unless we have a secondary line form. And I also saw someone ask earlier, when will we know if that secondary line is formed? Honestly, not until it happens. And honestly, it might not be a line, it might just be individual pop-up cells. So again, that's just the God's honest truth. You guys know I shoot you guys straight here. We're not going to know if the secondary line forms until it actually happens. Sounds looks great. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. I forgot to turn my heater off. It's warm in here right now. What about Elizabethtown? Please, I have bad anxiety. I don't really expect a whole lot for Elizabethtown. Matter of fact, you're in that 1 out of 5 risk. Really not a whole lot to be expected for you. Maybe another thunderstorm later on this evening. But again, that's going to be a big if. How about as a London Corbin area going to get tonight? Again, I think the main risk going to be damaging winds, especially toward that 6 to 8 p.m. time frame. And then, of course, you have a 1 to 2% tornado threat according to us, a 2 to 4% tornado threat according to the SPC. So again, this is not a remarkable event, guys. It's not. I know we haven't really had a whole lot of strong storms, severe weather consistently lately, really since the summertime, really since June. It feels like we've had a couple of small events here and there, but nothing really big. So I know something like this is going to get talked about more than it should. Again, I don't think this is a remarkable risk at all. The main risk for everyone's going to be damaging winds. And that's about it. Can a tornado occur tonight? Yes. But I think it's going to take a perfect scenario in order for that to happen. And it's really rare to get that perfect scenario. Way less echo. I think the sound on this broadcast is awesome. Pictures very clear as well. Lexi, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was getting irritated by the audio. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't have a whole lot of extra money right now, but we need to go ahead and get something new because I put up some sound dampening equipment. I put rugs in here, furniture in here, and I was still getting an echo, which I still hear one, but this mic that I have now does a better job at filtering it out. Is the severe threat diminishing or increasing? I think it's pretty much still the same. I don't think it's really moving anywhere because, again, we have to look and wait for that secondary line. If there's a secondary line that forms, that could produce another severe threat. But again, I still just don't think it's anything remarkable today, guys. Get through some questions here. Golden Arrow on YouTube, thank you very much for your update. Will Hardin County be affected if and when a secondary line occurs? It probably would. But again, they're going to be pop-up cells. So you're going to have like one portion of a county getting a cell, and then another portion of county is wondering what in the world's going on, what everyone's talking about, because nothing's there. So again, I don't think it's going to be a perfect line that completely blankets everybody like this first line did. I think it's going to be more hit and miss. That's why I'm kind of saying it's 50-50. Raining, cloudy in Somerset. Just wondering how travel will be after work. Likely going to be pretty windy. And if I had to guess, it's probably still going to be raining at that point. What makes the second wave more likely to have severe weather than the first? Thanks. Broadcast looks and sounds better, by the way. Thank you very much. Luke, for your question there, I don't think it really makes the severe weather worse or more likely. I just think it has more storm fuel to work with. So again, if we go back here and look at this, the blue is your negative energy. That's working to stop storms or keep them tamed. Your red is your positive energy. That's going to help storms get more fuel. You'll see that the better energy is out in Western Kentucky, North Central Kentucky. And if a secondary line starts, that is where it would begin at and then move to the southeast. So it's going to have more storm fuel to work with. However, oppositely, if we go and look at the wind shear or wind helicity map here, I'm going to pull up this one. The better helicity is out Eastern Kentucky, not in Western Kentucky. So one line has better wind energy, the other line has better storm fuel. They're both missing something. So that's why I'm not looking at an overly impressive threat here. The damaging wind will always pose a threat toward trailers and mobile homes. It always will. They're not built well. So again, if you get anything over 60 mph, you're probably going to have some siding issues. Now I'm not saying you're going to have an apocalyptic issue, but you're always going to have some wind damage from even minor wind systems because trailers just are not built well. As far as Western Kentucky, like the Morganfield area, mostly in the clear for today, yes. Just start playing some rain or thunder sounds in the background to dampen the noise for you. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. I do have some stuff here. I don't know what this does. I do have some new things I can play with here.
Does that make my voice different?
What about that one there? What about
That one. I have some different things I can play with.
Now, I'm not gonna do them very much, obviously, but I have some different things I can play with. What about where the storm energy and negative energy look to collide? Does that just equal out? Yeah, I mean, they kind of go. That's a good question. Uh, let's see here. Let me pull this back up so I can give you some here. So, like, once it leaves the better energy, and this better energy will move east eventually. Oh, did it actually work? I wasn't sure if it was work or not. The better energy will move east eventually. It's not a whole lot of negative energy out there. Like, for example, -25, -50. That's not a whole lot. So again, I'm not really looking at that too much. But yeah, it wouldn't really equal out. They just kind of would play with each other there. A red circle around London and Corbin meeting. I guess I missed it. That's just where I feel like the best chance for a severe warning or two can be. And again, even there, it's not going to be a high end or remarkable event. That's just where I feel like the best chance for a couple of warnings could be tonight, mainly for damaging winds. So would the London and Corbin area get hit worse if there is a second line? D, I don't think so because this line is going to take forever to get through your area. You're going to see some backside building as well. The reason I think it could be a bit of a higher severe threat than what it was this morning for places like in the green zone for central Kentucky is because the storm line was so thin and small there. It, the storm line really didn't do a whole lot in those areas. Whereas in these areas down eastern Kentucky, that first storm line is going to work over the environment because it's much wider. Midnight going to Salem, Kentucky. Am I going to be safe from tornadoes? Yeah, because once the sun goes down, guys, these things are going to die down quite a bit. The worst for London is just wind and storm, most likely. Bluegrass Inkers, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What time frame are you looking at for London? Again, of course, now until about 9 p.m. Eastern time is the severe window. More at Kentucky looking at anything else, unless you get a backside pop-up sale, which by the way, we are starting to see some out. You can see they're starting to pop up now. This for me is the area to keep an eye on for a potential secondary line that might move through. And even again, even with that storm line, it's going to have a little bit of an issue getting going because it's not going to have as much wind shear to work with. Both of these lines have good things about them. Both of these lines have bad things about them. Okay, the first line, there's almost no storm fuel there, which is why you're not even seeing a special weather statement. It's so weak. The second line, it's going to have storm fuel, but it's not going to have the wind energy of the front edge. So again, it's both lines have something good to work with. Both lines are missing something. That makes sense? No, Tyler, I don't really expect anything for Western Kentucky. Sorry, I missed the first half. I see Albany's impacted, but missed the information. Yeah, Albany is an area where I think we could see a severe warning or two, but again, the line is very weak right now. Very weak. Williamsburg, you are in that 2 to 4% tornado risk, I believe. Let me see. You're right on the edge. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? So yeah, there is a severe threat tonight for you, but it's mainly going to be damaging winds more than anything. But you see my problem here. Look at how quickly this up here turned into a cell. Look at that. So if I put this into motion here, this was right here, right here, 10 minutes ago. This is what the radar looked like 10 minutes ago. And then boom, right? So this is why I think the secondary line could produce a bit of a severe threat because it just has more storm fuel to work. This is why storm fuel is important. And that is why this front edge is not really being able to do a whole lot because it doesn't have a whole lot of storm fuel to work with. Now, it is starting to get a little bit more character. It's starting to look a little bit more organized, but it's still just not producing a whole lot. It might produce 35 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts here and there as it's exiting Kentucky. But you see how quickly this one became a nice sell up here. And this line is just, it's taken forever to get to this point. So that to me is the difference between that right there. For you guys that want to know how important storm fuel is, or CAPE, or what this map right here is, those of you that want to know why that's so important, look at how fast that took 10 minutes. 10 minutes. This is taking forever to finally get its act together. And now that it's finally got its act together, look how much rain it has with it. That's why storm fuel is important and it's absolutely necessary. So if you're missing that ingredient, storms 9 times out of 10 are going to remain non-severe. Now, you can get severe weather even without a whole lot of surface fuel, only if there's a whole lot of wind energy and the storms just very small micro scale locally create a little bit of storm fuel. Mandy, I think you're all the way in Wayne County. That secondary line is likely going to be just rain by the time it gets to you way later on tonight. Again, the wind gust threats anything up to 65 mile per hour today with a severe thunderstorm. But again, even that's looking likely to not really occur very much out there. Okay, I'm going to take a break now. I'm going to look at some of this radar data coming in. I'm going to look at some of the new model data coming in, look at some of the new AI data, and do some meso analysis and current analysis here behind the scenes to give you guys a little bit of a break as well. I'll make a post update here soon to kind of update you some more, but I did answer about 15 to 20 questions there, and we did a solid 40-minute broadcast here. So all the information, even if you're just now hopping in here to the broadcast, will be available on this video as soon as I post it here in about 3 to 4 minutes. Just stay patient. It'll be out there on the pages. You can go back through and watch any of the activity that we talked about here. I may come on here later on again and give another update. If not, we will only go live if there are more than 2 severe warnings. Just kind of let you guys know that, you know, when we go live, we mean business. So, well, if you don't see me again today, that's a good thing. If you don't, or if you do see me today, obviously hop back in and see what's going on. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning into our broadcast. Until next time, stay safe, friends.